I'm Samantha Mitchell, 32, staring at my reflection, fingertips hovering over the angry red mark blooming across my cheekbone. 2 hours ago, dinner was ruined. 2 hours ago, Derek's palm connected with my face, for the first time in our 3-year marriage. The doorbell rings. My parents' weekly Sunday visit. They see the bruise, exchange glances, say nothing. Derek smirks from his chair, beer in hand. Polite little family you've got. They leave awkwardly. Something inside me finally breaks. Where are you watching from today? Drop a comment letting me know, and subscribe if you haven't already, because 30 minutes after that moment, everything changed forever. Growing up in Portland with Beth and Howard Mitchell wasn't terrible, but it wasn't exactly warm either. My mother perfected the art of deferring to my father, smiling through clenched teeth when he criticized her cooking or commented on her weight. Every uncomfortable moment, every rising tension, it all disappeared beneath the rug of politeness. Not now, Samantha, my mother would whisper whenever I tried to address the elephant in the room. Your father's had a long day. That became our family mantra. Someone always had a long day, and someone else always had to accommodate. I thought college would be different. At the University of Washington, studying business administration, I thrived on my own terms. For the first time, my opinions mattered. My roommate Jessica encouraged me to speak up in class. Sam, you're smarter than half these guys, she'd say. Stop apologizing before you share an idea. Those 4 years built me into someone I liked, confident, ambitious, ready to make my mark. Then came the corporate mixer in Seattle, where my tech startup sent me to network. That's where Derek Foster entered my life, champagne flute in hand, tailored suit accentuating his athletic frame. He wasn't just handsome, with his perfect smile and carefully styled dark hair. He was *magnetic. As a marketing executive for a major firm, he commanded the room. You're different, he told me that night. Everyone else here is playing a role. You're authentic. The irony of that statement wouldn't hit me until years later. Our romance was a whirlwind, 6 months of expensive restaurants, surprise flower deliveries to my office, weekend trips to Vancouver and San Francisco. My friends called it a fairy tale. Only Caitlin, my college friend who'd become a psychologist, raised an eyebrow when Derek texted repeatedly during our girls' night out. He just misses me, I explained. He saw you 3 hours ago, she replied. But I brushed off her concern. Because when a man like Derek Foster looks at you like you're the center of his universe, you don't question it. You don't notice how he tenses when you mention male colleagues. You don't think twice when he scrolls through your phone looking for that restaurant we liked. The proposal came at Camless, Seattle's most exclusive restaurant. He'd arranged everything, the private dining area, the photographer capturing the moment, the 4-carat diamond that made my hand feel weighted. You've made me the happiest man alive, he announced to applause from nearby diners. How could I say anything but yes? Within weeks, he was suggesting I leave my startup. You're working 60-hour weeks, Sam. That's not sustainable, especially when we want to start a family soon. His concern seemed reasonable. The startup was demanding, and Derek's salary could easily support us both while I found something with better work-life balance. Our wedding was everything my parents had never been able to afford for themselves. Derek charmed them completely, calling my father sir and complimenting my mother's dress. Howard beamed with pride during his toast. I've never seen my daughter so happy. Derek, you're the son we never had. The honeymoon in Maui should have been perfect. But when I chatted with our waiter about local hiking trails, Derek's jaw tightened. Back in our suite, he exploded, you were flirting with him right in front of me. Do you have any idea how that makes me look? I was stunned. I was just being friendly, Derek. Well, be friendly with your husband. He stormed into the bathroom, leaving me confused and hurt. But the next morning, he was all apologies and tenderness. I just love you so much, he whispered against my hair. The thought of losing you terrifies me. We moved into a beautiful colonial in the suburbs, 30 minutes from my friends and 45 from my parents. It's an investment, Derek explained. The schools here are excellent. Derek's face contorted. His arms swung up. Then, pain exploded across my cheekbone as his open palm connected with my face. The force knocked me sideways into the counter, my hip slamming against the granite edge. The kitchen fell silent, except for our breathing, his, heavy with rage, mine, shallow with shock. My hand rose to my cheek, feeling heat bloom beneath my fingertips. Derek and I stared at each other across a chasm that had opened between us. In his eyes, I saw something new. Not just anger. Power. Satisfaction. Then, as though awakening from a trance, his expression shifted to one of manufactured concern. "Look what you made me do," he said, voice eerily calm. "Why do you provoke me like this?" I couldn't speak. In that moment, the last 3 years crystallized with perfect clarity. This wasn't an anomaly. It was inevitable. The destination we'd been traveling toward all along. "I need to use the bathroom," I whispered, backing away. In the powder room, I locked the door and confronted my reflection. The mark on my face was unmistakable, fingers outlined in rising red against pale skin. No makeup would cover this. No explanation would disguise what had happened. The doorbell rang, startling me from my daze. My parents were early. "Sam," Derek called, voice honeyed with false warmth. "Your parents are here." I splashed cold water on my face, wincing as it touched the bruise. There was no hiding this. Perhaps that was a blessing. Surely my parents would see. Surely they would help. I emerged to find them already seated in the living room, my father discussing baseball with Derek, my mother arranging a bouquet of tulips she'd brought. "Sorry, I'm not quite ready," I said, forcing a smile that sent pain radiating through my cheek. "The roast needs more time." My mother turned, flowers forgotten as she registered my appearance. Her smile froze. My father's conversation halted mid-sentence. Derek watched them all with calculating eyes. "Samantha," my mother finally managed. "What happened to your face?" Before I could answer, Derek stepped in smoothly. "She had a little accident. Turned too quickly and caught the cabinet door." "Right, honey?" 3 pairs of eyes fixed on me. Derek's threatening, my parents uncertain. The moment stretched. A crossroads disguised as a casual Sunday. "Actually," I began, heart pounding. "Why don't we move to the dining room?" Derek interrupted. "Sam made appetizers to tide us over." I hadn't made appetizers. We all knew it. But my father stood immediately, eager to escape the tension. "Good idea. Beth, come on." My mother hesitated, eyes lingering on my face. For a brief moment I thought she might speak. Instead she followed my father, shoulders hunched like a woman much older than her 58 years. Dinner was excruciating. The roast was undercooked. No one commented. Derek dominated the conversation with work stories. My cheek throbbed. My parents avoided my eyes. When my mother dropped her fork, I flinched. No one acknowledged it. "Well," my father said after a strained 30 minutes, "we should probably get going. Early day tomorrow." They never left early. They said nothing about dessert still in the fridge. "But you just got here," I protested weakly. "Your father has that doctor's appointment," my mother lied. We all knew it was a lie. At the door, she hugged me carefully. "Take care, sweetheart," she whispered. My father clapped Derek on the shoulder. "Good seeing you, son." And then they were gone. Without looking back. Derek raised his beer in a mock toast. "Polite little family you've got there," he observed. "Didn't even ask about your bruise." I stood in the entryway, something inside me finally, irrevocably broken. The front door clicked shut. Derek returned to his football game, as if nothing had happened. I moved automatically, clearing plates none of us had truly touched. As I scraped congealed gravy into the trash, memories surfaced. My mother, wearing turtlenecks in July. Explaining away sunglasses indoors. My father's moods, tiptoed around like landmines. I wasn't the first woman in my family to bear the mark of a man's rage. Just the latest. Another chapter in a generational silence. I placed dishes in the washer. Nearby, a photo, Derek and me on our wedding day. My smile so bright, so trusting. I barely recognized her. Where had she gone? When had I become a shadow of her? Measuring my worth in his approval, his moods. I picked up the photo. In the background, Caitlin laughing, my parents standing stiff. My mother's smile tight. Too familiar now. This will never get better, I whispered to my past self. Today was not an isolated moment. It was a culmination. Of years. Of erosion. Of truth rising to the surface. The words needed to be clear. Unambiguous. Asterisk, you hit me. I'm leaving, asterisk. No qualifiers. No room for negotiation. Derek laughed at something on the TV, unaware of the tectonic shift happening behind closed doors. Then, headlights. Not one car, but three. Caitlin and her husband. My parents. And a police cruiser. Sam, someone's at the door, Derek called. I stood tall, touched my cheek, and walked to the door with the steadiness of a woman who had found her voice. Caitlin embraced me first. Officer Reynolds stepped forward. Mrs. Foster, your parents reported a domestic disturbance. May we come in? Derek appeared, masking fury with fake concern. Beth? Howard? What's going on? No, my father said quietly. Everything is not okay. Derek reached for my hand. I stepped away. Samantha, he hissed, just for me. I didn't flinch. You hit me, I said aloud. I'm leaving. He tried to rewrite the story. She hit a cabinet door, right, honey? I didn't falter. No. He slapped me. Because dinner wasn't ready. This wasn't the first time, just the first time it left a bruise. Officer Reynolds asked if I'd speak privately. In the kitchen, I finally used the word. Abuse. When she asked, asterisk, do you feel safe returning home? Asterisk. I said, this isn't home anymore. Back in the living room, my parents looked shattered. We saw the bruise, my mother said. We panicked. You abandoned her, Derek snapped. We've been trained our whole lives to avoid conflict, my mother replied. But we're not leaving without our daughter. Seeing he'd lost control, Derek shifted. Dropped to his knees. Sammy, please. I'll get help. Counseling. Anything. But his words felt hollow. Performed. I deserved better, I said. From the very beginning. He lunged. Grabbed my arm. Officer Reynolds stepped in. Mr. Foster. Let go. He hesitated. Then did. I packed essentials. As I slipped my grandmother's necklace into the bag, Derek appeared again. You'll regret this. You're nothing without me. I looked at him. Saw through him. Don't contact me again. My mother wept as she hugged me. I should have helped sooner. You're here now, I whispered. The restraining order was filed. Derek could only watch as I walked past the house, the garden, the rules. Where will you go? He called. I didn't answer. Because for the first time in years. That wasn't his to know. You'll be protected, Rachel assured me. And you don't have to do this alone. I'll be with you every step. Asterisk. That afternoon, my parents met me at a coffee shop near the crisis center, neutral territory for the conversation we needed to have. My mother looked older than she had just days before, grief etching new lines around her eyes. I need to tell you something I should have shared years ago, she began, fingers twisting her napkin into elaborate knots. Your father never hit me, but he didn't have to. We established our dynamic early, his anger, my accommodation. My father stared into his untouched coffee. I didn't realize how my behavior affected you both until yesterday, seeing Derek use the same tactics I've used. It was like looking in a terrible mirror. Why didn't you help me when you saw the bruise? I asked, the question that had haunted me through the sleepless night. We failed you, my mother admitted. We saw ourselves in that moment, me with my silence, your father with his temper, and we panicked. We went home and had the first real fight of our marriage. Your father wanted to call the police immediately. I wanted to respect your privacy, let you handle it your way. She reached for my hand. We were both wrong. We should have confronted it instantly. We're in counseling now, my father added, surprising me. Howard Mitchell had always dismissed therapy as paying strangers to listen to your problems. We started this morning. We can't change what happened, but we can change how we support you now. Their honesty was imperfect but genuine. I offered conditional forgiveness, not blanket absolution, but a starting point. I need you to respect my boundaries going forward, I told them. I need to know you'll listen when I speak, even about uncomfortable truths. We're learning, my mother promised. Together. Finding housing proved challenging with no recent rental history and limited immediate funds. With Rachel's help, I secured a small apartment in a building with security features, key card entry, cameras, and an attentive front desk staff. The rent stretched my savings thin, but independence was worth the financial strain. Derek's attempts to contact me began within hours of my departure. First came flowers with a handwritten apology. Then lengthy emails, cycling between self-pity and veiled threats. When those received no response, he escalated to leaving tearful voicemails on my parents' phone, knowing I was staying connected through them. His mother, Catherine, called next, her cultured voice tight with accusation. Marriage requires commitment through difficult times, Samantha. Derek made a mistake, but abandoning your vows is hardly the Christian response. Does your version of Christianity include tolerating abuse? I asked before ending the call. Each contact strengthened my resolve rather than weakening it. Each manipulation tactic I recognized reinforced that I'd made the right decision. 2 weeks after leaving, I attended my first support group meeting in the community room of a local church. 8 women of varying ages and backgrounds gathered in a circle of folding chairs, united by shared experience. I'm Samantha, I introduced myself. I left my husband 14 days ago after he hit me for the first time, but the abuse started long before that. The physical abuse started then, corrected Linda, a silver-haired woman in her 60s. The rest had been going on all along, hadn't it? I nodded, unexpectedly moved by the simple validation from a stranger. My first therapy session with Dr. Wilkins was equally enlightening. Unlike the marriage counselor Derek had once selected, who advised me to be more supportive of his stressful career, Dr. Wilkins specialized in trauma and recovery. Many people expect to feel only relief after leaving an abusive relationship, she noted. They're confused when they experience grief, doubt, even a desire to return. These feelings don't mean you made the wrong choice. They mean you're human, processing a significant loss. We'll proceed directly to court. Meanwhile, Derek froze our joint accounts, leaving me financially vulnerable just as apartment deposits and legal retainers came due. I was forced to find work quickly, accepting a position well below my qualifications and experience. It's temporary, Caitlin reminded me when I expressed frustration at the administrative role. You're rebuilding from the foundation up. Through her network, I connected with a remote marketing firm willing to hire me part-time, with potential for growth. The salary barely covered essentials, but the flexible hours accommodated my therapy and legal appointments. My first night alone in the new apartment tested my resolve. Every unfamiliar sound triggered adrenaline. I checked the door lock repeatedly, jumped at passing headlights, slept with my phone beside my pillow. But beneath the anxiety lay something precious, the knowledge that this space, however modest, was mine alone. No one would criticize how I arranged the furniture, question my choice of dinner, or monitor my communications. For the first time in years, I could simply be. 6 months after walking out of Derek's house, I stood in my transformed apartment, admiring the changes. Walls once stark white now displayed soft sage green, my choice. Bookshelves held volumes Derek had dismissed as clutter. Photos captured new memories, hiking with Caitlin, dinner with my parents, our support group's celebration of Linda's divorce finalization. The physical space reflected my internal transformation. In therapy with Dr. Wilkins, I began identifying patterns and triggers, how certain tones of voice could instantly transport me back to Derek's control, how I still sometimes sought permission for basic choices. Recovery isn't linear, she reminded me whenever I grew frustrated. Healing happens in spirals. You'll revisit old territory, but always with new perspective. I reconnected with former colleagues who expressed genuine joy at hearing from me. We tried reaching out, explained Marcos, my startup mentor. Your responses became increasingly formal until they stopped altogether. We worried about you. Their welcome felt like recovering limbs I'd forgotten were missing. My relationship with my parents evolved into something healthier than it had ever been. Their counseling continued, producing visible changes. My father learned to express emotions beyond anger. My mother discovered her voice. During our weekly dinners, now hosted in my apartment, we practiced new patterns of communication. Sometimes awkwardly, always earnestly. I spent 30 years teaching you the wrong lessons, my mother acknowledged one evening. I showed you how to shrink yourself to accommodate a man's ego. I'm sorry for that legacy. You also taught me resilience, I countered. And you're showing me now that people can change when they commit to the work. Beth Mitchell had begun volunteering at the same crisis center where I'd found help, answering hotline calls with the wisdom of someone who understood silence's cost. Howard joined a men's group addressing toxic masculinity, returning each week humbled by new awareness. The legal battle intensified as our court date for divorce approached. Derek's attorneys tried to paint me as mentally unstable, claiming I fabricated abuse allegations for financial gain. My documented bruises and the police report countered those claims. But the character assassination still stung. He's desperate, Gabriella assured me. The judge sees through these tactics. On the September morning of our court appearance, I wore a navy blue dress I'd purchased with my first independent paycheck, modest but confident, like the woman I was becoming. Derek arrived in an expensive suit, his expression alternating between wounded victim for the judge and cold fury when our eyes met. Despite his objections, the judge granted our divorce and a fair settlement, including temporary spousal support and recognition of the career sacrifices I'd made. The court finds sufficient evidence of domestic violence, the judge stated, validating in public record what Derek had denied for years. Outside the courthouse, Derek approached as I spoke with Gabriella. This isn't over, he muttered, mask slipping. You've made yourself look good today. But we both know the truth. Yes, we do, I replied, meeting his gaze. That's why I left. He reached for my arm, his old reflex. But this time, I stepped back. Goodbye, Derek. The encounter left me shaken. but not broken. His tactics had lost their grip. The man who once controlled my every thought now seemed smaller. My consulting business grew from that part-time role, blossoming into freelance projects that used my education and experience. I specialized in helping women own small businesses, finding meaning in supporting others' independence. The irony wasn't lost on me. Derek's attempts to diminish my career had ultimately led me to more fulfilling work. Through my support group, I joined a domestic violence awareness nonprofit, eventually becoming part of their community education committee. Standing before high school students, discussing healthy relationship boundaries, I found purpose in my pain. If my story helps even one person recognize the red flags I ignored, then sharing it matters, I told Caitlin after my first presentation. One Tuesday evening, I received an email from a woman named Tara. "You spoke at my daughter's school last month. Your courage helped her recognize her boyfriend's controlling behavior. She left him yesterday. Thank you for helping her avoid years of what you endured." I read it through tears and forwarded it to Dr. Wilkins with a note, proof that healing isn't just personal. My friendship with Michael from support group evolved slowly. Coffee after meetings became lunches, then weekend hikes with his rescue dog, Scout. Neither of us rushed toward romance. We honored our healing timelines. But his steady kindness and curiosity created a foundation unlike anything I'd known. "You never asked me to be smaller," I told him once as we walked by the water. He looked at me, genuinely puzzled. "Why would I? Your strength is what makes you you." As the 1-year anniversary of my freedom approached, I wrote a letter to my younger self, the hopeful bride who confused control with care. "You will survive this," I wrote. "And one day, you'll do more than survive. You'll thrive in ways you can't yet imagine." The generational cycles that shaped my parents' marriage, and infiltrated mine, had been named, examined, and broken. My future relationships, romantic or otherwise, would be built on mutual respect, not dominance and submission. The silence that once protected abusers in my family had been replaced with truth-telling, however uncomfortable. My journey from victim to survivor to thriver continues daily, with stumbles and breakthroughs braided together. But standing in my sage-green living room, surrounded by evidence of the life I rebuilt, I knew this much with certainty. I had found my voice, and I would never again be silent about what matters.